Today on Susan's in the Garden. Want to see our rather unconventional way of starting onion and shallot seedlings? We'll show you that, how we produce sturdy plants, explain plant care, and when to harvest them. Hi everybody, I'm Susan Mulvihill. My husband Bill and I live in Spokane, Washington, where the hardiness zone ranges from 5B to 6A. You know, I have been wanting to share Bill's methods for growing onions because they are amazing, and today is the day. This year we're growing Ailsa Craig onions, shown in this photo, Barolo onions, as well as Zebrune and Creme Brulee shallots. All of the methods that I show you today will apply to both the onions and the shallots. Bill started the onion and shallot seeds on January 11th. Now he admits that's a bit early and says any time before the end of February is good. He uses empty mushroom containers from the grocery store. He pokes in drainage holes in the bottom, fills the container with lightly moistened seed starting mix, sprinkles a whole bunch of seeds on the surface, and then adds a little bit more of seed starting mix to cover the seeds. He puts them under our grow light, and once they are up and growing well, he will occasionally give them some diluted Alaska fish fertilizer to help them grow. The routine while the onions and shallots were still under our grow lights was that every time the seedlings got maybe about this tall, we would take a pair of scissors and cut them back so they were just maybe about 3 inches tall. Our end goal was to have nice, sturdy seedlings, and that's what you have to do. It seems drastic, but it really does work. And we did this many times while they were still growing under the lights. Now Bill's going to explain how he prepares the seedlings for planting.
Start off with this planted pot and tip the whole bundle out. We've got quite a few roots there. And what we do is just slowly break it apart. And then tease these apart and get each individual plant ready. And not to worry too much about the roots because we're going to trim them. They just try not to tear them off the bottom of the plant, but we separate this group a bit. Okay, now I have some to work with. So from here, I'm going to trim, leave about 3/4 to 1 inch of roots. Take the tops down, set that aside. What I want to have is, I want a short root system so that it fits in the hole. I don't want to dig a deep hole. And I want a sturdy stem that's going to stand up straight and not fall over and get stuck in the dirt after it's planted. So I'll go ahead and separate these out and get them trimmed, and then we'll come back for planting.
You're probably wondering why we would want to go to the trouble of doing this. Well, I've got 4 very good reasons for you. First of all, this allows us to grow the varieties we want. rather than relying on local garden centers' limited offerings. It's far more economical. Onion and shallot seeds typically remain viable for about 1 year, so it's important to use those seeds up. And we love onions. As Bill likes to put it, our recipes all start with these words: cut up an onion. Now you could do this part of the process a day in advance. Just place the prepared plants in a moist paper towel, store them in the refrigerator, and then plant them the next day. This is the bed that Bill's going to plant a lot of his onions and shallots in, and unfortunately it's in the shade at the moment. What he did for bed prep was to lightly loosen the soil. He added in some compost and some bone meal, which will help those lovely onion bulbs grow.
When planting the seedlings, you don't want to plant them too deep. Your bulb is going to form down here, and you don't want it to have friction from the soil around it. So plant them about 3/4 of an inch to an inch deep and pack the dirt around them so they don't fall over. And then these tops will grow up and you'll have a nice bulb forming right at the surface of the soil.
Be sure to refer to your seed packet to determine how much you should space the plants apart. Once your onions have been planted, there's really not a whole lot to do other than to water them on a regular basis. And the thing that's great about onions is that you can harvest them at any stage in their development. So you can pick them while they're young as scallions, you can pick them as small onions, or you can let them mature to their full size. And what we typically do with the larger onions is we'll harvest every other one of them so that the remaining onions will have enough room to keep growing. Now the interesting thing about the Ailsa Craig onions is that we grew them for the first time last year, and the information on them said that they usually just keep for about a month. Well, that's not very long. So we put them in boxes in our cold, unheated garage over the winter, and they kept for several months. So that was a lovely surprise. I hope you're going to grow onions, and I hope you'll try some of our techniques. Thanks so much for watching today, everybody. Happy gardening.